Hi there everyone, welcome to Dandelion Delphi Tutorials. We're going to have a look at question 1 of the final of 2020, and at the end of the year all grade 10 should be able to do this, but grade 11s and 12s you should be able to use this paper to practice with. First of all, papers will indicate where you need to code in the heading there above the question or at the question number. So we should be coding in button 1.1 called colors. And here we are asked to change the font size of the text of the combo box to 12. We must add blue as well as the third option. And then we must make the item green to be the default option. Currently your combo box has green as the first item and only red there as well. So you have to add blue here. And when you click on the button, you should have green there as the default option. Press pause and try it yourself before you watch the memo. To change the font size of any object, we'll use the name of the object, .font, .size is assigned to, and we'll give it an integer number here. The question asked you for 12. Then we were asked to add blue as the third option, and maybe you've watched the sequel video populating a combo box. It's similar to that, but we just have this one line of code here, combo box.items.add, round brackets, similar to richeditor.lines.add, also round brackets, and in the round brackets we need to place a string. So we're just going to put blue there in inverted commas. And remember, your first option on a combo box has an item index of 0. To set that as a default value, you're just going to use combo box.itemindex is assigned to 0. In the button 1.2 for the kite, we are given this formula here. We're often given formulas in an exam to apply using Delphi code. And that also an example of what does everything mean. So diagonal 1, which is labeled A there, is the longer one and B is the shorter one, with an example of how it would be calculated using maths. They've provided you with some code to store the input from the user making use of input boxes. So you have to look at the bit here that says write code to do the following. We first asked to declare a suitable numeric variable to store the area of the kite. Make sure that you do declare these variables as there are marks allocated. That's where the easy marks are allocated, is for declaring variables. Now remember, if you have a look at the formula here at the top, when we're calculating this area, we're going to use divide. Even though these two might be integer numbers, because we're using the divide, this area needs to be real. Now you can read the rest of the question. Press pause and try it yourself. I'm going to show you the output just now. Test your program and see if you entered 27 as diagonal A and 13 as diagonal B, if you're getting the output here. Take note in your output that only one decimal place is displaying. Here is my variable or area as real declared. Inside of this procedure, remember it has to be local because I'm only using it in this procedure or event. Here's the input provided for you, so you will code below that comment. And you want to test if A is bigger than B. If it is, then we're allowed to calculate the area. We had to multiply the two diagonals with each other and then divide by 2. In your label, important is to have your labels. So this bit here, the area of the kite is, and then make sure you make use of floater string F with R area, and that you only round it off to one decimal place, or actually only displaying one decimal place. We're not rounding off because we're not changing the value, we're just displaying only one decimal value. And then there was also after that square centimeter. You do not need to code in 2 lines, you could continue to code at the right there. If this was not true, we had to show a message to say that diagonal 1 is not greater than diagonal 2. Careful of adding an if statement here with your else, because some of you guys would say if I diagonal A is less than I diagonal B, but it should actually, if you wanted to add an if statement there, say less or equal to, because else equal is not included in either one of these two. So it's better in this case just to have your else, because if that is not true, then it's an incorrect entry. This next question is testing some string handling. You remember how we convert from a decimal number to a binary number? We continue to divide by 2 and we write down the remainder. Then we use that number here, we continue to divide by 2 until that answer is 0. And at the end, we want to write the answer down from the bottom up. Now you are going to write the code, but they've been very kind in this paper by giving you the steps on how to do this. Press pause, try it yourself. I'll show you the output just now. Here is when 19 was entered. Make sure yours is exactly the same. And also test for 45 and make sure that you are getting the same output in the same order. The words retrieve an integer number just means store it as an integer number, whatever the user enters in that edit box. Initialize the string. We're going to assign binary to an empty string, and then we're going to start the conversion. It tells us here repeat until the number value is 0. So therefore I just use the repeat, but I will show you an example of using a while as well. Don't mix up these steps. Do them in the same order as it's been given. And take note of this line here that says add the remainder that you calculated above to the left of the content of the string. So instead of our usual string building where we go snew is snew plus a value, we're now going to say snew, or in this case sBinary, is assigned to the value plus sBinary in order to add it to the left of the content. And then we want to change that value by dividing it by 2. So here's my input from the user, from the edit box. Make sure you store it as an integer, else you won't be able to use modern div. And then I'm initializing my string. Question set, repeat until the number is equal to 0. Then we were asked to calculate the remainder. We use mod to calculate the remainder. We had to divide by 2 and see what the remainder is. So my remainder is the number entered, mod 2. Then this remainder had to be added to the left of the string. So sBinary is the interstring of the remainder plus sBinary. And then I'm changing this number. So I want to know when I take that number, whatever it is currently, dividing it by 2, what would be my answer? And I will continue to do that until our number is equal to 0. Finally, all you had to do was display the string sBinary. Here's a solution using the while loop. So the input and the initialization stays the same. But then the while loop now says while the number is greater than 0, continue to do this. This inside bit is the same as in your repeat loop above, and then just the output. In this last button of the question paper for question 1, we are going to code a word game, and every character deserves a certain number of points, and you have to calculate the points at the end of what a word is worth. Now, the first one here is the vowels is going to get 3 points. Any other alphabetical letters, so your consonants, they are 2 points. And then any non-alphabetical characters, that means special characters. And the examples they give here, the apostrophe and the hyphen, those aren't our only special characters. So don't code only for them, but they're worth 1 point. Here they are asking you to retrieve the word, so that just means store it, and also that you change it to capital letters. Then we want to test for the presence of a space. And if there is a space in the word, they are disqualified, and we need to display a suitable message. We need to clear the edit box and set the focus. If there was no space, we then need to calculate the total points of that word and display it. Make sure that you're not displaying the points if they were disqualified. Press pause and I'll show you some output just now. Try your program with win to see if you get 7 points, a non-subscriber with a dash, with a hyphen, and that should be 31 points. Then if you put in team 1 with a space in there, it should say it's disqualified and no point should be displaying in your rich edit. For this question, we would use a string variable for the input from the user for the word entered, and also iScore, which will keep track of their score, which would be an integer, and I'm also using k to loop through my word. So first of all, the question asks us to store the word in capital letters, so make use of uppercase here. If you didn't, you would have to uppercase everywhere in here. So it's easier actually to just use it there as the question asked. Then that said, we have to look for the existence of a space in the word. So I'm using the pos function for that. Remember, you can't put it inside of your for loop because you may not use an exit inside of your for loop. So for that reason, I'm just using pos. If it finds a space in there, pos will return a value of 1 if it was the space and then a word, else it would just return the position of where the space was found in. So if a space was found, this pos will return a value of greater than 0, display your message, and remember to clear your edit box and set the focus, and then either use an exit here or an else. But remember, when you have an else, you would need a begin and an end, and the end needs to go after this output line. You do not want to display points if they were disqualified. To go to each character in the word, I have used a for loop here that goes from 1 to the length of the word because I want to go to each character. Because I'm using ink on the inside here, or you could have used iScore is iScore plus 3, I need to initialize iScore. And since there's a loop, I'll initialize it directly above the loop. In my if statement, I now am going to go to each character in the word. So I'll start with character 1. I'm testing if it's a vowel. If it's a vowel, I'm adding 3 to the score. If it's not a vowel, then this code will run here. In here, I'm really testing for consonants. You will see I've included A there, but you must remember when I'm using a nested if, that character, if that was an A, this won't run. So in a nested if, only one of these lines are going to run. And for a vowel, this code will be run, and all of this will be ignored. So for that reason, when the character is a vowel, this code will not run. So only consonants and special characters will run this line. So this really sorts out to make sure that if I have a consonant, my score will be increased by 2. And if it's not a vowel and it's not a consonant, then my only other option left is that it's a special character which scores only 1. I don't have to put the 1 there, I could have just done that. And then finally, outside of your loop, because this displays only once, I then display in my rich edit with my label, my score. If you are looking for more activities and explanations for question 1, you can go to Dandelion Delphi Book 1. It was written for grade 10s, but it really prepares you for your final exams in grade 12, question 1. Thank you guys for watching Dandelion Delphi tutorials. Hope to see you soon.